holy and beautiful, the custom which brings us together to face our ideals and to be enlightened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages. Three unseen guests attend: faith, hope, and love.
Well, good morning. And welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Barbara Walker, a lay minister about to be commissioned in today's service. West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church is a church that strives to be anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and a multicultural community. Our church community welcomes you today and invites you to be present in the richness of your full self. Your age, your experience, your beliefs, your race, your gender, your sex, your sexual orientation, your socioeconomic class, your abilities and your disabilities, and all else that makes you uniquely you. You are welcome here. A very special welcome to all of those who are here for the first time, including many of my family and friends. If you are here in person, we invite you to stop by the Welcome Center out in the hallway across from our church office. And if you are joining us on YouTube, as people are all over the world right now, and would like to learn more about the church, please reach out to our membership coordinator, Diane Alcorn. Her contact information is on the church website. We have an extra special welcome to our special guest this morning, Reverend Dr. Elaine Strahn, who is the co-chair of the Commissioned Lay Minister Council of the Central East Region of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Please see our weekly e-news that comes out every Friday by email to learn about the events and the activities happening at our church in our community. Right now, I'd like to emphasize a few, that in your order of service, there are some inserts. The first is two-sided. On the one side is our Braver Angels event on Thursday, October 27th, that talks about how we build conversation and have some of those difficult conversations with people who have opposing views to us, politically, religiously. Also, the Ways and Means Committee has a flyer this week about all the different ways you can help us out. The stewardship team, planned giving, our personnel team, our service auction team needs help, and our buildings and grounds all could use your time and talent and treasure. Also, the event that I promote is my Thursday at West Shore program. We have a really special offering on October 20th. We're going to have dinner first, catered by Chipotle, and then we're going to view the film that Maya Wayner made about Joe Schaefer and our beautiful children's choir. So feel free to sign up in the rotunda so that we know how many to have for food. And once again, welcome. I am so glad, and we are all so glad you are here.
Good morning. It is such a joy to be here for this special day today. Historically, we are a sharing people. We share our questions, we share our knowledge, We share our insights and sometimes our confusion. We share the responsibilities of caring for a vital community such as this. This morning, we light the chalice in that spirit of shared ministry, laity and ordained, all called to use our talents and dedication in building a beloved community. This community, the community of West Shore UUs. May this light inspire in each of us a step forward as we journey together. Together, we share our work and our enrichment.
Let us now witness to the unity of our spirit, witness to that by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio su ley. Este es nuestro magnífico convenio, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Thank you. And now we turn to our land acknowledgement. Moving forward, I'd like to ask that we sing it together. I'd like to invite all of us to participate. It's our way of remembering something very important, that Native American peoples, their histories and culture, past and present, matter. They matter. It's the same message that makes up the national holiday celebrated just yesterday, Indigenous Peoples Day. As President Joe Biden said in his address from last year, our country was conceived on a promise of equality and opportunity for all people, a promise that, despite the extraordinary progress we have made through the years, we have never fully lived up to. That is especially true when it comes to upholding the rights and dignity of the indigenous peoples who were here long before colonization of the Americas began. For generations, federal policy systematically sought to assimilate and displace Native people and eradicate Native cultures. Today, we recognize indigenous peoples' resilience and strength, as well as the immeasurable positive impact that they have made on every aspect of American society. We also recommit to supporting a new, brighter future of promise and equity for our tribal nations. So may it be so, what President Biden has to say. Outside, we know our banner reads, Black Lives Matter. And inside, when we sing together our land acknowledgement, we are saying American indigenous people matter. That's what we're doing here. So let us sing this together. We come to this good morning, remembering the journey of freedom. The land we are on was once another's. We mourn the legacies of oppression. Healing is our way forward. Joy is the birthright of all. Thank you. At this time, children and youth may quietly walk to the rotunda where you will meet your teachers. Those who remain may greet each other as feels mutually comfortable. And let's remember to greet the folks participating at home as well. We can wave to them through the camera right there. So let's greet each other right now. So folks, I'd like to invite everyone back to your pew. We're going to sing our opening hymn for today. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to sing our opening hymn for the day. There's this movie that came out 1,000,000 years ago where they released the Kraken. The Kraken is just like this deep sea monster, and they release the Kraken every time we do the greeting. It's like releasing the Kraken. So we got to stuff the Kraken back deep into the ocean, and we are going to... Okay, that's how my mind works. I'm sorry. It's weird. You don't want to know what's up here. We're going to sing our opening hymn right now, The Fire of Commitment. Please rise in body or in spirit. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
That hymn gets me every time. just saying. Reflection. Reflection means going back, returning to a time, a space, a memory, a story. And that is not always easy. This week, looking back over my past 5 years of my CLM journey, I've been discerning, what was the beginning of this? I started humming the Harry Chapin song, All My Life's a Circle. It seems like I've been here before. I can't remember when. No straight lines make up my life, and all the roads have bends. There's no clear-cut beginning, and so far, no dead ends. I consider my CLM journey as a calling, something I think I was always meant to do. However, it has by no means been a linear process. So did it begin in 2017 with that bit of synchronicity when Reverend Tricia and I and the West Shore Worship Associates traveled to Columbus to give a workshop? On the drive home, Reverend Tricia asked me if I had ever heard about the CLM program. There had apparently been a workshop in the very next room. I had been curious about it, heard a little bit, and by the end of the car ride, I was pretty excited that this might be the path I was searching for to further my leadership connection to West Shore. After all, I'd made a promise with many of you that I would be, with you, part of the long haul people. And the CLM program would allow for the opportunity for me to strengthen that commitment. But wait a minute. Was the beginning of it in 2013? When Reverend Kathleen mysteriously said, I have plans for you. You know, I never did find out what she meant. Or in 2015, accepting the call to be a worship associate, that 2-year commitment that continues to this day. But maybe it was in 2018 at a spiritual direction training. I was having a really insightful conversation with a gentleman about our spiritual religious backgrounds. He is also an Episcopalian priest, and our backgrounds had some similarities. So he had listened intently to my story about being friends with the minister of my congregation's church who had passed away from cystic fibrosis in her 20s. Days later, he came up to me and asked me what my friend's name was. Betsy, I replied, not sure why he was asking. He simply stated, Betsy. Betsy is why you are here doing this work. And he walked away. So was it in my first conversation with Reverend Anthony, after explaining what the CLM program was and the creation of Thursdays at West Shore, that he said to me, what you're doing is experimental ministry. Or maybe it was in 2020, simply saying yes to the invitation from Sil to go to Transylvania, not knowing the power of that experience to change my world. So all of these could be it. The moment I found the calling, a puzzle looking for the pieces that fit together. When there's stuff you want to do, and the stuff that you want to do fits with what you were meant to do, when you feel deeply that West Shore is the place where you're meant to do this work, that's shared ministry. That's how shared ministry evolves with this and us long haul people. Many of you in the audience fit that description. And I encourage you, as the leaders in our church, to seek out programs and opportunities and say yes, to seek out programs like the Commission Lay Ministry Program. And feel free to ask me more about it. We'd love to have more CLMs at West Shore. So when, as a CLM candidate, we go before the CLM Council for our final interview, we are always asked, what will change when you go from candidate to Commission Lay Minister? And I went instantly to what? How can there be more change? COVID gave us certainly enough of that, didn't it? But being a part of West Shore and the wider CLM community has given me the courage to face those obstacles and the inevitability of constant change. I am grateful for the opportunity to help build the connectivity of our beloved community and continue to listen to your ideas and your stories as we grow, weaving our collective West Shore story in rich and meaningful ways. So West Shore, allow me to take a moment to acknowledge an ending and new beginning for one of our long haul people. And I'm trying to make sure she's here. Sil? She's not here, but we're going to acknowledge her anyway. Today would be her last Sunday at West Shore as she leaves to move to Mount Clair, New Jersey, to be close to her family. She is a true example of what shared leadership and ministry has been in our congregation. All of us promise to carry on much of your hard work and efforts, Sil, and you will be missed. Please join me in a round of applause wishing her well as she takes new steps in her journey. So I'd like to end with this poem from one of West Shore's favorite poets, David White. Everything is waiting for you. Your great mistake is to act at the drama as if you were doing it alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there, to frighten you and to invite you. And the teeny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. Namaste.
So it was my senior year at Mima High School in Oklahoma, and I was part of a group of seniors chosen to do an independent study program, presumably on a topic that we would like to pursue in college or as a career. I'd heard about this new program called music therapy. In short, it's the clinical use of music to accomplish individualized goals, such as reducing stress, improving mood, and self-expression. It also expanded into actual physical treatments as well. I was drawn to this program, and at the time, the only place in the country that had a school curriculum was at the University of Kansas, which was near my home. Dr. Ethar Gaston was the director of this entire curriculum, and it was centered around his book, Music in Therapy. While I was intrigued with this program, my research led me to the conclusion to not pursue it as my college work or even as a career, simply because the program was so new that there were no jobs out there yet. But I kept my ear to the ground on this, and fast forward into the 90s, and the Cleveland area had become a hot spot in the country for music therapy training. This was largely because of a program called the Music Therapy Consortium, which combined the resources of Oberlin Conservatory, Baldwin Wallace Conservatory, the College of Worcester, and Cleveland State University. I did end up taking a couple of courses and worked with the Cleveland Sight Center, where I worked with a little boy named Ricky, who was totally blind. We worked together with a drum set, and it was so fun to watch him find those drums and just start making a lot of noise. And the smile on his face said it all. At this time in my life, I was the executive director of the Koch School of Music, which was just up the road on Worcester. We outgrew our facility there and bought a huge chunk of the Bonnie Bell complex over on Riverside Drive in Lakewood. Much larger facility now, and we renamed ourselves the Riverside Academy of Music. All along in the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted to start a music therapy program, and now we had room for it. And I found out that a former music student of mine at St. Christopher, Ed Gallagher, had become a registered music therapist. So I called him and brought him in and said, I want you to start a music therapy program, and I'll get you whatever you need. We'd already had a close relationship with the Beck Center, And the logical side of myself always was to merge the two institutions, Riverside Academy of Music and the Beck Center. We finally convinced our boards to make this happen, so that little music therapy program, which started in the early 90s with one person, Ed Gallagher, has now grown into the Creative Arts Therapies program at the Beck Center, which now serves over 1,500 individuals each week. They have 3 full-time music therapists, 2 part-time music therapists, 2 part-time art therapists and specialists, part-time theater specialists, part-time dance movie, and a director of the annual Razzle Dazzle, which I'll mention in a moment. A number of the individuals in private music and art therapy sessions at the Beck Center are of all ages and have a variety of disabilities that include autism spectrum disorder, Down syndrome, ADHD, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and more. They provide services to all special education classes in the city of Lakewood from early childhood through high school. They've been part of the, this is a cool program, Toddler Rock at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which annually serves 400 children of the Head Start program. The Beck Center has had a long-time partnership with the Cuyahoga County Board of Development Disabilities to produce this Razzle Dazzle amazing show where the clients become the entertainment. Their reach goes from the Barton Center in Lakewood to Menorah Park in Beechwood, as well as Orange Schools, Goddard Schools, Providence House, and more. Goals for the future are to expand their services and upgrade their resources for use, including instruments and art supplies, adaptive materials, technology, and more. This is a great program. There's a form of music therapy called receptive music therapy. This is where the client, you, listens to music during the offering, me, and responds to the experience. Now, I had, most of you know I play at the Velvet Tango Room, and I had a good weekend, and I made $126 in tips. So, let the morning offering be, please be generous.
Today's offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you. To serve. To serve can mean so many things. Kindness to someone you know, kindness to someone you do not know, to be of use, to help, to make a contribution, to make a difference. To serve can mean so many things. And all are called to serve. No matter who you are, your age, your collection of identities, your estimate of what you have to give, all are called. Part of the reason why is that everyone is on a learning journey, and a main way to learn is through service. Service opportunities put you in a place that may be new for you, and you discover things about yourself. You witness unknown talents emerging. You meet people who bring blessings into your life. You give as you get as much as you give. You get as much as you give, even perhaps more. All are called to service because all are called to growth. And then there is this reason. All are called to service because each of us has a stake in everyone else's well-being. It is one for all and all for one. And this is so in several ways. For one, when I hurt others, when I hurt others, I can make amends through service. I may not be able to make amends to that person that I hurt, so may I make amends in some way to folks that maybe are new to me. I want to do as best as I can with this. Another situation is when someone's kindness heals me. The gratitude that results is a call to pass on that kindness to one another. And kindness means service. Everyone has hurt others. Everyone has been the recipient of kindness. Therefore, everyone is called to serve. But now we want to go deeper into this topic of the spirituality of service. And to do so, I want to use an old teaching story. Use it as a lens to magnify some other insights about service. The story is about a monastery down on its luck, shrinking in terms of spirit, shrinking in terms of numbers. Its leader is the abbot. He is frustrated, he is burned out, and he has had it up to here with his brother monks. One day, the story goes, he takes a break, he goes to the nearby Jewish temple he wants to visit with his good friend, the rabbi. The moment the rabbi is finished pouring tea, the abbot begins pouring out his frustrations and his fears about what's going on at that monastery he leads. And the rabbi hands him a tissue, comforts him with a hand right here on the hand on the shoulder, and then after some silence, finds himself moved to say, "There's something I've been meaning to tell you. In the community I lead, we have long known something about your monastery, and now it's time you know that the Messiah is one of you." Well, at first the abbot thought the rabbi was joking, but there was no smirk on the rabbi's face. There was no mischievousness in his eyes. And seeing this, the abbot, wiping away his tears, started to laugh. "The Messiah is one of us? Listen, I know a thing or two about Jewish theology. The Messiah is supposed to be the hero who restores justice and peace to our world. And let me tell you, I know my fellow monks, and none of them are hero material." But despite all these objections, the rabbi stayed firm. "The Messiah is one of you," he repeated. "I don't care how unlikely you see that to be. Believe it." Well, the abbot had never experienced the rabbi as one given to exaggeration or irrationality. So the abbot came away from the temple feeling some amazement. He felt a burden had been lifted. Maybe the Messiah really is one of us, he thought. Coming back to that monastery, entering into that space, familiar sights and sounds became charged with new possibility. Walking down the halls, walking through the courtyard, he would pass by one of his brother monks and he would wonder, is that the Messiah? The Messiah who would help restore justice and peace to our world? Every different monk he saw brought the same question to his mind. Is he the one? Is he the one? Soon enough, the blame he felt towards all of his brother monks just fell away, and what was left was anticipation, openness, respect. And it did not go unnoticed. One of the brothers came to him pretty soon after he left the rabbi and said, "Sir, what has happened to you? You are so different." And after a little bit of coaxing, the abbot eventually explained what had happened with the rabbi. And the revelation was stunning. The brother monk caught that the Messiah is one of you vision, and soon enough it spread all throughout the monastery, a positive contagion of joy. Every monk soon enough was wondering about every other monk. Could he be the one? Could he be the one? The good news could simply not be contained. The Messiah is one of us. And soon enough, that community, that entire community glowed with kindness and grace. The prayer life grew profound and deep. The worship services vibrated with an energy that they had never known before. And like a magnet, that community drew villagers from far and wide. They felt the amazing spirit of that place, and they wanted to be a part of that. In fact, requests to join the monastery rose to a number that the abbot had never known before, and that only added to the abbot's joy. Things had come full circle. From despair towards a community that was just dying, to joy at how it had turned right around and discovered abundant new life, all because it believed and lived a profound vision that the Messiah is one of us. And that's the old teaching story. It is not factually true about any specific actual monastery, but I hope you see it is psychologically true. It is spiritually true for us, for everybody. So what else can it teach us about the spirituality of service? So I want us to start with the story's beginning. The monastery, down on its luck, resentful and demoralized abbot, resentful and demoralized monks. And you better believe that when a community is in a psychological space like this, and the call to service has fallen on deaf ears, there is a feeling of deadly scarcity. The community is truly on a path towards death. I wonder if you know about a phrase that goes like this: freezing a person in time. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Freezing a person in time? What it means is that your sense of them always goes back to some mistake they made. And they are never anything but that mistake that they made. Does that make sense now? Freezing a person in time? When you bring them up into your mind's eye, they are always committing that act. They're endlessly repeating that act that hurt you. You have frozen them in time. And you know, we can do that with communities as well. A community might have been the scene of some kind of blow-up, or it tries to improve, but you know, it never quite gets there. And when you think of that community, your mind always goes back to that conflict or that failure. The community can never be anything other than that. Have you ever done this with a group before? Have you ever done this with West Shore? It may therefore be the very first act of service to forgive. to let your mind and heart be immersed in the vision that we are all in this same cosmic classroom, and we exist as an interdependent web of people who inevitably will hurt others as a part of our learning journey. And these people will hurt us in turn because it is a part of their learning journey. We are all just trying to learn. It is not personal. Those monks are not trying intentionally to mess things up for the monastery. And neither is the abbot trying to mess anything up. They just aren't. Forgiveness may very well be the first act of service. To forgive the parents who might have hurt us, the siblings, the friends, the colleagues, and yes, the church that might have hurt us. Forgiveness, which is fundamentally about unfreezing, releasing, letting another person or a community have back their freedom to learn from their mistakes and do things differently in the future. And these words are so easy to say, and they are hard to do. And one reason why is that it can be so easy to get stuck in our heads. The stories we tell ourselves about what is happening, they are way too narrow, too limited. And they are set on repeat like a broken record. Somehow a larger vision needs to break through all of that. Which in our teaching story is where the rabbi comes in, when he says, the Messiah is one of you. Now, he's putting a very different spin on something that the abbot already knew. The abbot wasn't an idiot. The abbot wasn't an empty container. He was coming in with all sorts of wisdom. The abbot already knew that his fellow monks are children of God. He already knew that. That is a more Christian way of saying that all people are more than the sum of their mistakes. They are more than the sum of their social identities. That there is something that remains pure and free in each person, no matter how bogged down they may seem to us, viewing them as we do from the outside. The abbot had already heard sermon after sermon about that, how we are all children of God. But it just points out the realistic fact that sometimes we just need to hear about a truth we already know differently to really receive it. So some of you know that I'm a figure skater, I'm an ice dancer, that's a big thing that I do. And in my ice skating life, sometimes I can get stuck in a bad habit, and my head coach is telling me 100 times not to do that. Don't do that. Do this thing, right? He can tell me 100 times, but it doesn't stick. And then I work with like an associate coach one time, and she says it like this, and I'm like, oh my God, I got it, right? Does that ring any bells for you? Yeah. Right? The right voice happens, and what you've been struggling to figure out, it just clicks in that moment. It penetrates, it fits. Sometimes when people are stuck, what is needed is a different spin. They need a different metaphor. They need a different voice. And that is how the rabbi served the abbot when he invoked the metaphor of the Messiah rather than that old child of God metaphor that the abbot was already, no doubt, totally well aware of. It means that yet another way of serving when people are stuck in a rut is to change things up. Don't just repeat what you have been saying 50 more times, right? And then when it still doesn't stick, when the person still doesn't seem to be receiving, you just decide that they're stupid. You got to say it differently. You got to shake it up. Got to shake it up. Besides forgiveness, helping people reimagine what they are doing and what they are facing is a powerful way of service. But now I want to take an even closer look at, the impact of the rabbi's main message to the abbot, which spread through his monastery like wildfire. That vision, that good news vision of the Messiah is one of us. I want you to notice, first of all, that this good news It does not mean something. We got to get that straight up. It does not mean something. It does not mean that the Messiah, the bringer of justice and peace, is someone else. It does not mean that. If you affirm that the Messiah is someone else, well, what you have is an impenetrable obstacle to seeing and receiving the abundance that is already yours and already in your community to which you belong. An impenetrable obstacle to that. I mean, if the Messiah is truly someone else, then nothing is going to get any better until we get something that we do not already have. We got to get more members, we got to get different members, we got to get different friends, we got to get a different spouse, we got to get a different house, a different children, different lives, something that we don't already have right now. A classic example of church people believing that the Messiah is someone else, well, it comes from the sphere of fundraising. It's people looking for a sugar daddy or a sugar mama to pay for what we all get to enjoy. People not giving at all or giving way beneath their means because they're counting on someone else to take care of it. This is any church's quickest route to a sense of collective scarcity. And I want to share a true life story that proves this point. I heard it from West Shore member Soren Hansen. Is Soren here this morning? Well, he must be with Syl. Maybe Soren is at home watching, like Syl. So it comes from Soren Hansen. He told me about this Universalist church that he used to belong to many years ago. It was an old church whose endowment fund was so big that people just drew on it to pay for everything. No one needed to pledge a dime. They never needed to give a dime. Dave Blazer, just a moment ago, is inviting folks to offer something for the outreach offering, and they wouldn't have to give a dime. They would just pull from the endowment fund, everything coming from the endowment fund. The endowment fund was that church's sugar daddy. No one had to give everything. People just took. Now, Soren went on to say that this old church, with a building that could seat upwards of 800 people. You know how many people this building can fit? Around maybe 350, if we're like packed together as sardines. 800 people. 800 people. This church could fill up 800 people. It dwindled away to a congregation of only 30 people. That's how many people were part of that congregation when Soren found it and started to go to it. I was stunned to hear that story. And I was also stunned to hear that same story repeated over and over again as I went looking for other cases of congregations relying on some kind of sugar daddy or sugar mama to pay for everything. They had all the money in the world and no heart. It means, folks, that the quality of your relationship with this congregation is absolutely impacted by the generosity of your direct giving. It means your annual pledge has a distinctly spiritual dimension to it. It means that when you could give more, but you give less, you care less. You get less out of this beloved community. The Messiah is someone else. That vision in fundraising is just a small vision, and it crushes the life out of the church. The Messiah is someone else. That vision is exactly the mindset that the abbot and his monks were struggling with, and maybe another mindset as well. The vision that only one of us, or only very few of us, get to be the Messiah. Oh yeah. The vision that only one person gets to step up. Only one of us gets to be brilliant. Only one of us can deepen our lives through spiritual service. Now, it is true in a big church like ours where some jobs require special expertise, or when the oversight of programs requires the sort of focus and time that are just not possible for most volunteers. Well, yeah, we need structure, we need policies, we need dedicated staff, we need a minister, right, to take care of that stuff. But it is a distorted and false vision to allow staff and ministerial leadership to control everything. This is way beyond the fundamental structures and policies and paid leadership that are needed to keep this big institution afloat and moving forward. With a distorted, only one of us vision like that, well, in the end, everybody is weeping. For one thing, people who aren't allowed to step up in service, they never get to develop their Messiah-like potentials. They never get that chance to step up into Messiah-like action. They must learn to be content just to follow, just to sit and soak. When things go wrong, well, their only option must be to complain and wait for someone else to solve the problem for them. It is passivity, it is reactivity. No wonder those monks in the monastery were all shallow, they were all lifeless. No wonder the villagers wouldn't touch that monastery with a 10-foot pole. Who'd want to be a part of that? And as for the one person who is pegged as the official one and only Messiah, well, let me tell you, they're weeping too. They are weeping too because they are expected to do it all and to be it all for everyone else. They have to have all the wisdom. They have to have all the answers to solve all the problems. They have to have all the energy to be the change agent, and they must bear the full burden of that. They, in short, are stuck holding the hot potato. And they get burned out to a crisp. Above all, they don't have the right to be human, the right to make mistakes, the right to sometimes take off that superhero cape. They don't have that right. How many of you feel what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about personally. Nobody? Or your just necks are stiff. I don't know what's happening. Have you ever felt pegged into a Messiah role like this, pegged as the one answer person, the one who must always be strong, the one who must give and give and give and give without receiving, the perfect one? How could someone not be weeping if this is the life that they are living? It is said that without an expansive vision, the people perish. And I believe it. Ultimately, to peg one and only one person as the official Messiah, or to say that the Messiah is someone else and never us, to do that stuff, that is to hand ourselves over to a vision of scarcity in our lives, and we will shrink to fit. We will shrink to fit. We will become scarcity. We will scatter into separate groups that compete and quarrel. We will turn selfish. We will be quick to get bitter and to criticize. We will be quick to despair and to blame. We could be surrounded by every good thing in life, but we won't be able to see it. We won't be able to receive it. We would starve in a full pantry because we simply couldn't imagine anything higher than the floor, because all we're doing is looking at the floor. We can't see what else is there in the pantry. We could starve in a full pantry. So much depends on the kind of vision that we give ourselves to. And I am saying that the expansive vision that all are called, the hopeful vision that the Messiah is one of us, now that is worthy of our loyalty. Its brilliance is the fact that the identity of the Messiah is forever deferred. We never know exactly at any time who that might be. And therefore, the door is open to endless moments when everyone potentially gets to contribute their talents. They get to shine. Everyone potentially gets their moment to shine. And that is lovely. That's what helps us collectively turn a corner. Your contribution matters in a moment, then your contribution matters in a moment, then your contribution matters in a moment. And if someone doesn't contribute in the moment, when they do not let that Messiah energy to shine in that moment, something precious is lost, and we are all the poorer for it. This is nothing less than a good news imagination that allows the abbot and us to see everything through the lens of a more positive kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what we're talking about. We want a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. As the story says, the abbot would pass by a monk and wonder if he could be the one, the Messiah, who will help restore peace and justice to our world. Every different monk he saw brought this same question to mind. Is he the one? Is maybe he the one? Inspired imagination like this is a matter of wondering, weaving, and connecting the pieces of our lives together in a way that reveals new meaning and new purpose. It is so different from a burnout imagination, which instinctively presumes meaninglessness in people, hopelessness in situations. The Messiah is one of us. Sometimes maybe you, Elizabeth, and sometimes maybe me, Anthony, but always the maybe, that we are only human is true, and each of us brings limitations to our relationships and jobs and volunteer roles. But what if we refuse to allow our vision of ourselves and each other to be defined by our limitations? What if we were to presume the best instead and to wonder, is he the Messiah? Is she the Messiah? Are they the Messiah? Could I sometimes be the Messiah? What happens then? If someone thinks that I could be the Messiah and that I possess potentials to bring some kind of beauty and meaning and justice to this world in some unique way, if they treat me as if this were true with all the reverence and respect that that requires, then I will step up to that. I will be that. Do you think that's the case for you? Oh, Lord. Let me hear something from you, folks. Oh, my God. This is my 4th year. By now, you know when I'm actually asking questions like that. I really do want a response. I got to pull out my smelling salts and just like, okay. If someone treats you like that, I know you can step up. We can do that. Recognize me like that, I will respond. Recognize the teenagers among us, and they will respond. Recognize the children among us like that, they will respond. People of every age, every person who comes through our door, whatever they look like or sound like, whatever their gifts or flaws, they will respond. The vision will happen. The Messiah will come. I want this story to speak to us today. Here at West Shore, let it mean that each and every one of us is finding a way to love this place. They are finding a way to give into it with their time, their money, their talent, their presence. It means that no one person is so valuable that without him or her or they, we are lost. It means that we have all the resources we need, and they're already here and now among us, within our reach. It means that we are the servant leaders we've been waiting for. Can I hear an amen? Amen. Oh my God, can I hear a louder amen? Amen. We are all a part of the same cosmic classroom. We are teaching and learning from each other. There is no other way. We can freeze each other in time, or we can release each other through forgiveness. We can stay stuck in our imaginative ruts about what the heck is actually going on. Or we can experience renewal by seeing what is happening through new lenses, new metaphors. It is our choice moving forward to know that the Messiah is one of us, that all are called to serve. Amen. Amen. And now we turn to our ritual of commissioning Barbara Walker to 3 years of lay ministry among us. And we are doing this in sincere and grateful recognition of that beautiful vision of the Messiah is one of us. Barbara has stepped up to claim her potentials as a difference maker in this church. She has successfully participated in the UUA Central East Region lay ministry program in the form of extensive study and reflection supervised by the Reverend Denny Paul, and we have seen her leadership grow and flourish among us in our midst. May she be the first of many lay ministers in our midst. And now we are here today to honor her and commission her to the work. And so, Barbara, I would invite you, please, to join me up here. Barbara, you have said that you wish mainly to focus on the ministry of adult spiritual formation, of which your leadership of the Thursdays at West Shore is an outstanding example. You have also expressed a desire to offer a ministry of welcoming and hospitality to support people who need companionship, guidance, and spiritual direction. You have also expressed a desire to continue your personal and spiritual growth through your lay ministry experience. Is this indeed the wish of your heart? And if so, say yes. Great. Now, West Shore, do you honor and acknowledge this? Will you, ahoy ho! Hey ho, hey ho! It's fine. April Stoltz, don't get her started. It's fine. Do you honor and acknowledge this? Will you participate in the programs and activities Barbara has helped to create or lead? Will you find ways of supporting her initiatives? And will you remember to thank her? If so, say yes. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Barbara, I want to share with you a special gift that comes from a space of a feeling of excitement and gratitude for you and just the beginning of a wonderful thing. So it's in this bag right here. Yeah. So just go for it. Okay, both two hands because it's heavy. Got that? Because I know you're shaky. Okay. Good Lord Almighty. I'm sure it could be easier. Okay, there you go. Okay, watch out. Hold on. Just sharpen. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Some of you were going, ooh, so let me hear, ooh. How about an ah? No, really, everybody. Ooh, ah. Beautiful. I would now like to ask the Reverend Dr. Elaine Strahn to say a few words. Dr. Strahn, as you heard from earlier, is the co-chair of the commissioned lay minister council of our Central East region of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Dr. Strahn.
Thank you. Reverend Makar has been very gracious in allowing for this time, and it's a joy to be here to celebrate with Barbara. I want to lay just a little bit of a context and then bring it back to West Shore. In the course of this week, because of the expanse of the program, I've been able to be on the phone with folks with commissioned lay ministers from Fort Myers, Florida, Cookeville, Tennessee, the shores of North Carolina, where devastation also struck, but also celebrating with folks in Plattsburgh, New York, whose minister is from Canada, and so stretching across the borders, planning retreats with people from Manhattan and Toledo and Binghamton, New York, and calling David Pyle, who's the lead of the Central region, to say, one of our CLMs wants to know what the heck is going on at the UUA right now. It's a broad program, but has been wonderfully illustrated in the sermon this morning by Reverend Makar. This is also a very specific program. Part of what I love about this program is it so represents our polity, our congregational polity. Because although the council gathers and meets and interviews candidates and gives a go-ahead after they've been recommended by their resident minister and by the congregation, and has an agreement with the board about what they will do. After all of that, the council meets and says, great, go ahead. And here's a resource list, and here's a mentor for you, and we'll work with your supervising minister. The congregation and the CLM candidate work together specifically within the congregation, developing, changing, answering the call, whatever it means at the moment. And you had a long history of that. Doris Matthey was a commissioned lay minister. Ann Osborne has been a commissioned lay leader. This has risen up from among you already historically, so Barbara is not the first, but her vision is different, with Thursdays at West Shore and the other pieces and parts that she has done and will do, answering that call within this congregation. But it is you who recommend her. It is only you who can commission her. The council meets with her and asks her deep and abiding questions. But then the council's only power is to send a letter to her, to the president of the board, and to the resident minister that we recommend that you commission. We do not have the power to say you will. The power resides here because the ministry of West Shore resides here within this congregation and in this surrounding area. You are keeping the chalice lit in this area. You are the ones with the power and the vision to work with Barbara as she pursues where ministry calls her in this place. Thank you for your belief in the program, for your openness. Reverend Anthony, thank you so much for your support. Thank you.
So Barbara, to Dr. Strahn's words, I want to add those of your mentor in your formation process, the Reverend Denis Paul, who is currently serving our sibling church in Rhode Island. He writes, "Congratulations on this momentous occasion. Congratulations to Barbara for completing all of the requirements to become a commissioned lay leader, lay minister, and congratulations to all of you at West Shore for recognizing her unique gifts and for your willingness to embark with her on this journey of shared ministry. I had the pleasure," he says, "of serving your congregation and Unitarian Universalism as a whole by working with Barbara as her mentor through her formation process. She has proven herself to be creative, thoughtful, and energetic with her work with people of all ages, and know that you will benefit from her expertise and experience." Reverend Paul says, "May this day be not the end of training and learning, but just the beginning, and may the whole community be blessed by the work that you all do together." Those are the words of the Reverend Paul, Barbara's mentor. And now, as we continue on with this ritual of commissioning, Barbara, I would invite you to please step onto the floor. Barbara, I want to acknowledge that no one serves in isolation or alone. And to witness to this great truth of ministry, I now ask that Dr. Strahn, together with any other commissioned lay ministers in attendance, as well as Barbara's family and close friends, if they will come forward right now, if you will come forward right now, and I want you to encircle her and lay your hands on her shoulders. And you guys kind of move a little closer to the pews. Move in this direction, please. Dr. Strahn, just push. Yeah. Guys. Move over here. Okay, all together, right? Move that way. There you go. That's just great. Isn't that funny? Okay, so it's fine. Okay, yeah, don't move back. All right, great. Anybody else to lay their hands. Family, good friends, commissioned lay ministers. The laying on of hands ritual, ancient ritual, is meant to remind us that ministry, whether professional or lay, is about energy. And the energy flows out of the minister, professional, it flows out of them into the world. And that energy flows back into you from the world. So let these hands, which have been extended to you, Barbara, become conveyors and channelers of that which is older than recorded time and younger than the newest second. Let them be hands which share the warmth and wisdom of thousands of years ago, and will do so 1,000 years into our future. Let the timeless energy of healing and hope, Barbara, flow into your service here. And now I invite the rest of this gathered community to form concentric circles around Barbara. Please stand in body or in spirit. Let those who are nearest step forward and lay their hands upon the folks already surrounding Barbara. And then for the people farther back to lay their hands upon the shoulders of the people in front of them. I really want all of us to be connected, to be linked in a pattern of caring and mutual goodwill. Don't stay separate. Find a person to lay your hand on. Please do so at this moment, until this entire place is a beautiful webwork of love and caring. We are conveyors and channelers of all that is older than recorded time and younger than the newest second. I am talking of creativity and generosity and compassion and healing. Let all our hands be conduits of this timeless energy, which as Unitarian Universalists we give it many names: Spirit of Life, Goddess, God, Father, Mother, Tao, interdependent web of all existence. Let us feel it in our hands and in our bodies, this mysterious source of ever-present grace as it gathers and grows. And now I would invite everyone to continue standing, but drop your hands to your sides gently. And I want you to turn around and I want you to face the doors. Turn around and face the doors, all of us. Here is where we turn our energy. We turn the flow of our energy outwards to the larger world, from Barbara to the congregation to the larger world. Let us never forget the Messiah is one of us. The world needs our actions of healing and love. All are called to serve. And so now, let us all place our hands upon the shoulders of someone in front of you. Stay looking outward into our world. Now that we have done this, it is time to say all together, let us bless the world. Here we go. Let us bless the world. May this laying on of hands ritual convey and channel that which is older than recorded time and younger than the newest second. Barbara, this moment in history needs you, and it needs this congregation as well. Be a blessing to each other so you can magnify blessing to this larger world. This ancient ritual of the laying on of hands is now at an end. We have felt that which is timeless in our hands, in our bodies. We have felt in us the energy and joy that is ready to break forth to renew the world. And so may it be. Amen. And celebrate. Woo! So glad you're here. So glad you're here.
Please join me in saying our chalice is extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth,
the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again. Come here. Lovely. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I've noticed that some folks have already left. Others came in kind of late. You never know what's going to happen in worship, folks. You got to be here from the beginning to the end. Just saying. Thank you for coming today. I invite you to take a very close look at the ways and means trifold in your order of service. I love stewardship. I love fundraising. It is a great fit for anybody who loves to help people put their resources of time and talent and treasure in service to love, in service to justice. If you want to chat more about that with me, please let me know. I'd love to chat with you. I also want to remind folks that in Baker Hall, we have a reception for Barbara. We're going to be in the receiving line to start things out. Please wait for us. Don't leave yet. Wait for us to come, and I'm going to offer up a toast in honor of Barbara. So hang out in the receiving line to wait for, the Baker Hall to wait for us. And then also a reminder, sermon chat at noon in the chapel. I offer these benediction words from the lovely poem that Barbara offered, the poet David White. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it is pouring you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and the creatures of this world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. So may it be. Go in peace.